Welcome back to Get With It Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grunler.
Wolverine.
Nailed it.
Nailed it, dude. You got it. Look at that.
As if I haven't been doing this for almost 2.5 years.
No.
3 years is in March, dude.
Wow.
3 years is in March. Now that's a ways away.
That was that weird fucking COVID time.
Time.
That COVID year just gets blended in. I don't even that's 2 years of time that I know things happen, but it doesn't equate. I can't put it on any clock or time frame or anything that I have. I know it was there. I know I did things. I know it happened, but everything switched. Everything that I think was, that was 2 years ago. No, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah. Getting there. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday afternoon. Bruce, Corey, Janelle, Laura, Adrian.
What's up, Adrian?
First time here. What's up, dude? Check that box. Get it, Adrian.
Boom.
Check. That's how we're. Wait a second. I'm getting there. Stefan, did you really just PR your front squat by 50 pounds?
What the heck?
Are you on the Andrew Hiller strength program?
California hormones?
325 to 375? Holy crap.
I would go on the side of you've been sandbagging for a while, because there's no way you're going to 50-pound jump like that, dude. 50 pounds?
Even to have a 325-pound front squat in general is nothing.
No, that's a big front squat. But
hi, Bruce.
Shit, 50 pounds.
I'm happy Bill is here too.
Stud.
Second time here. What's up, Colorado Springs living? I like that. That's good. What's up, everybody? What's up? We are here to talk about the Zelos Games. And I want to talk about all things Zelos Games. We'll go through the programming. It's only 4 events, so that that's not a long show. Doesn't need to be.
No.
But the whole thing, the coverage, the setup, what it really is, what it's designed to be. Obviously, we'll talk about what the purpose of it is to help kind of guide our ship as we look at the programming specifically. But this was a weekend that I didn't really know what I was getting into. I had an idea. I watched I had to watch the Wadapalooza stuff from last year, right? I was supposed to broadcast with you in Miami, and my son is like, "Hey, how about I just cough on you and the rest of the family, and we all get COVID, and now you can't travel."
There you go.
Fortunately, I got to watch your coverage with Sean Woodland, which was phenomenal. Produced by Hamilton Road. First time they've had a real production company come in and showcase Wadapalooza as it's always really earned the right to be with the event that what it is. It always deserved. I don't say deserve a lot, usually earned, like, hey, you worked for that, but they've done so much for so long. They deserved a better broadcast. Of course, that was their decision not to have that. But then the Savant podcast covered it as well, the in-between things sometimes during the events. I soaked it all in. And this weekend at the Zelos Games, Savant had boots on the ground as far as cameras there to shoot the whole thing. Brian Friend was on the competition floor, basically. We'd be able to look at all 4 lanes and just call what he sees. It goes in. And they had a slew of guests on throughout the weekend that just kind of came in as they could. Brian from Barbell Spin came on, J.R. Howell, Taylor Self, John. God, I keep forgetting John's name because his name in my phone is so freaking long. He likes everything heavy. Like Bill Grunler was on the show as well. I hopped on for like 30 minutes because I guess they couldn't find anybody better. Everybody was busy, and it was like, hey, Mercy Street, you got to come on. I was like, and it was an absolute pleasure to hop on for a little bit while I got to. But everyone there, it was really, really cool to watch. Yes, John Young. Thank you, Corey. I was thinking John Fire Ant Young. But what they did basically was a live coverage of this in-person portion of the Zelos Games, which was like 12 men and women. I think 3 heats of 4 for every event. There was 4 events, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, pre-shows, during the events, post, like it was a full-blown coverage of that. So props to all who were a part of that coverage. It was very unique, and I was in a part of a little behind tech stream because they had to get me on the show, so I got to see, really, aside from the coverage itself and everything, is like those guys and girls that are a part of that whole thing this weekend, they care so much. And Savon can put on the toughest that he can, but that dude cares about CrossFit, the sport, the community, more than he'll like put his, he does the community side too, but like that dude loves the sport too. I know he talks about CrossFit, the community being really the only thing, and like CrossFit methodology is what it's all about, but those guys care so much.
They do care. And I was glad that they did what they did. I thought it was really fun for them to do that. Knowing that we have done the broadcast side, like I love all those guys, and this is not a jab on what they did. It was kind of hard to watch, though, honestly, because not because of the camera footage or how it went that way, but everybody wanted to be involved. And so you had 4 people talking all at the same time. And so Brian's trying to do play-by-play and commentary and color at the same time. Sevon's in there jumping about like, wow, just touch that dude's back. Just touch it. I dare you to touch his back. And then, Matt's having to do stuff on the floor. And then they're trying to get like, weird shots of Hiller doing his thing. And again, it's not a jab on what they were doing. You could tell that they cared about it. They brought a lot of coverage to the people watching it. So they did a ton of stuff and a ton of work. And I mean, they were literally on air from the beginning of the day to the end of the night. And that was for 2 events a day.
Right.
Like, that's it. Like at the games, they did the same thing, but like that was for like 15 events. This was for 4. Right. So I'm really glad that those guys were there to be involved and just show the love for what they were trying to do, and giving the props for the sport and giving, I mean, what I really took away from it wasn't even what they did, but they were just part of a gigantic experiment, which was the Zelos Games.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is interesting. I will fault nothing on what it was, how it was, anything, because it was the only version that has been done that way. And I'm not talking broadcast. I'm talking scoring. I'm talking the way they did the heats. I'm talking how they brought people in. I'm talking the fact that they have a live version and an online element to that. It was a really interesting way to go, all right, well, let's open up all these doors and see what the hell happens. And on top of that, like the fact that it was a CrossFit sanctioned event, I thought was interesting.
Right.
I'm like, wow. So here we are, as we're doing Z scores, we're doing all these, or license, I meant, yeah. We're doing all these things, and CrossFit still, like, there was still that connection between having a CrossFit licensed event. And I know that it's not that big of a deal, but usually when someone is going away from, the norm, which is what this event was, it was, I think, in a very positive way, away from the norm, just to test. And it was really interesting, man. Like all of it, start to finish.
Oh, for sure. And with the licensing thing, it's like it's like being an affiliate.
Yeah.
You pay to use CrossFit, and they let you do whatever it is that you want to do. And if you want to do, remember when Dubai, this never actually ended up happening, but they were going to turn Dubai into like 10 special, individualized, not individualized, like almost single modality events.
Well, they
That was
kind
the
of played
plan.
with that. Remember they did the long bike ride. They brought like the triathletes in there, and they brought
Yeah, that
special
was
in those
early
events.
on, but even
Yeah.
it was almost, I think it was a year. It was the year it got canceled. But the plan was like 10 events, all single modalities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Wad Zombie, how much does it cost? I think it depends. There's tiers to the licensing. And I think it's as low as like $500, honestly.
Oh, wow.
500 to $1,000 to be a license. Yeah. And with those tiers, and I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, and I should know this, especially with the job that I have now, but you can basically say CrossFit in your competition. Like if I run the Lone Star Shootout or Lone Star Legends here in Texas, I can't call it a CrossFit event, even though we all know what it is.
Right.
Because I don't have the licensing to say it. Now I pay my $500 or $1,000, and I say, hey, Masters CrossFit competition in Dallas, Texas. I can put CrossFit on all our t-shirts. I think that's another tier, is being able to use the logo in your merchandise and the logo in your marketing. There's different tiers with the licensing. Back to the event itself and the coverage is, it would be extremely unfair to judge this against any broadcast we have ever done or has ever been done, because that's not what it was. It was
right.
I call it, it's like it was live coverage in a system we have never seen before, like you said, in a format with scoring that we've never seen used live in competition, in a way to cover a sport different than it really ever has been. It reminded me of, I would much rather do that than what we had to suffer through with Flow Elite in those water. We didn't even like have a producer. We couldn't even move cameras, and we were just sitting there hung out to dry. And the way he did it, and this is what I liken it to, because you have two different things here. I liken it to, if anybody watches football, you have Monday Night Football, which is this like first class worldwide broadcast with cameras and replays and everything, right? That couple $1 million broadcast. And then you have something called the Manning cast, which is like on Monday Night Football's on ESPN. The Manning cast is ESPN2, and that's Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. And they're both in their rooms watching the game like two dudes who used to play the game, sitting on their couch, just talking about the game. And there's a huge, huge following, love, and market for that.
Totally.
And I think that this is what it is, because everyone that loved that, and I enjoyed watching it too, and listening to Brian do what he really always does, that just nobody has a mic on him when he's doing it. Like that's what Brian, excuse me, that's what Brian does for the CrossFit Games. We know where the cameras are because Brian is sitting there watching the field and relaying the information back to the production truck, and then the cameras move, right? And so Brian got to really showcase what he does a lot of the time in live competition when he's a part of the broadcast team, other than providing information and stats and things like that, which is copious, him and Chad. But there's a huge following and love for that laid back, we're all on a couch together, drinking a beer, shooting the shit, and covering it. And I think there's room and maybe a necessity to have both in the space when events like this are being covered.
I wish they would have,
like, the professional clean broadcast is not everybody's cup of tea.
No, totally. And I wish they would have leaned into that more, because that way they wouldn't have been on each other's toes. Is what I kind of felt like. I mean, Brian was trying to do. He was trying to do what we normally see, like our job, the play-by-play, the color commentating, who's coming up. There's 25 more feet on the handstand walk, and so-and-so just moved up into this, and they have 5 more to go. That is important. But when that person is trying to do that, and when you are a single person, I mean, like we have played these roles where you are play-by-play and color at the same time. And when you do that, you're nonstop talking. Like you don't, when it's me and you, we can bounce off each other. We know when to take that breath. You can start your thing, like when people are moving, and then I can say why they're moving, and then we go back to, okay, now they're moving again. And we talk about, okay, well, how are they moving this way? What should they be doing? So you can do that. When it's just you, you're just kind of nonstop talking, and you're afraid you're going to miss something. Right. So that left very little room for the other guys that were wanting to hop in and have that kind of fun talk. And so that's what I mean. Like, I wish you could have leaned into the other side, leaned into the podcast version of the broadcast, rather than trying, like, hey, what they did was awesome, but instead of trying to go close to what we normally would see in Wadapalooza or whatever, have them back all the way out, and then just be like the Sevon show over top of whatever, and have all those guys talk. Same thing. Have Brian with all of his information in there. I mean, well, look at so-and-so's doing this. And then you could have, whoever, Matt talking about whatever, and then Sevon wanting to talk, the only thing Sevon wants to like add is how big this guy is. That guy looks jacked. Why isn't everyone wearing tights? Touch that one guy's back, all of those kind of things, it's so funny. It was cracking me up.
Yeah. And I think the hard part there in the beginning, it was like they were trying to figure it out.
Totally.
They had never done it before, right? So
we're here to do it. We're here to go.
Yeah, everyone just like, it was like everybody was arguing. But by the end, you're right. Like Brian took over, but that was the flow, right? And it was really easy for Brian to do that because one, Brian's there watching it in real time and just calling whatever he wants to, whenever he wants to, as it unfolds. And anybody else is just watching, not live, right? And so that's really hard to do.
Oh yeah,
it's really hard to have any type of flow there. But again, I think I would love, and honestly, I would watch this back if, say, Sevon and their crew did the same thing at the CrossFit Games or Wadapalooza. Well, if we're doing the live broadcasts as it's always been traditionally, which is what some people want, and that's happening at the same time, when I go home, I'm going to watch Sevon's show. I don't want to listen to myself shit all over myself for 6 hours trying, get through rock.
Yeah. Man, that would be good. That would be really fun.
Yeah, I think so too. It was good. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was the one heat I got to do it. I was just sitting back and watching. I was like, I'm not going to come in here and just like derail this show and try to broadcast as it went. And so like, I was just watching it as a fan. Oh, did I freeze?
Dang it. For a second. You're back. You're back. It's good.
And so like we were, the one I remember is it was during the third event, and we're like, this girl has to go unbroken. And we're watching her. We're like, there's no way she's getting 9. Well, she got 8. And we're just like cheering for her to get, like, it was weird to cheer for athletes or to react like that. That made it fun. It was really fun to do. It was cool. I enjoyed it.
It would be a
good job.
It would be a very different angle. It would be fans for fans' sake rather than classic coverage for classic coverage sake. With mega stats and coaching cues and strategic whatever. It'd be like it would be the whole setup. Like, bro, $5 you can't do it. $5 you can't do it. Like that kind of stuff. That like people would be like stepping up. That would be really fun. That would be fun.
So I enjoyed it. I think that type of format and really like in the way that they had it, 12 people, 4 people per lane, like it was the perfect area to test something like this out. If that makes sense.
You know what that is? It's almost you might be you should be old enough to remember this. Remember what was that? Something 3000. they would show these old cheesy ass like space flicks or whatever, and there'd be like the 3 aliens, one that looked like a gumball thing, and was like space something.
Yes.
Science Theater 3000. Science Theater.
Oh,
Mystery Theater
Science Theater,
3000.
Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah,
Mystery
that one.
Science Theater 3000.
It would be like that, where just like the
That
thing is
the
happening.
perfect analogy.
We should totally do one of those. Fuck, we got to do one of those
That's
with
what they
Sevon.
did. I'm down. It was fun, dude. I had a good time. And
that would be really funny.
And I give a lot of credit to Sevon too, is that Sevon pretends that he doesn't really know what's going on. So he does a good job of asking people the questions, but he asks all the right questions, which means he knows exactly what's going on.
The guy's been around way too long to not know what he's talking about. Like, you don't have to be a great athlete to be able to ask questions. And what he has always been good at is asking not the surface level question. He never asks a surface level question. He starts with like one tier down, which usually will immediately get someone uncomfortable. And then he just drops like 8 levels and comes way down, and just with a weird smile on his face will say something that makes, I mean, this is why the athletes used to get so nervous around him, because they're like, fuck, he's going to ask me this and it's going to put me in a weird place. Yeah, you would always be like, he'd come up and he would just run. I just thought it was hysterical. I'm like, of course you're going to ask that question, man. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I thought it was great. It was awesome.
He does a good job, a really good job. So I really enjoyed what they did. I think the evolution of that, I'm really curious to see what happens as they do it. I know they want to do more. Everybody that was watching the stream really enjoyed what was going on.
It will be interesting as you get to the bigger events, because as of right now, that's not allowed. Like, depending how they go to do it. Like, I mean, Brian worked for CrossFit for a little while and got removed from CrossFit because he was videoing Hobart, and they're recording over that, and then they're like, and you're out. So, you know, whether they use, like, you know, remember when they did the world stream, if they do something like that, or if it's just, you know, they're allowed to use some sort of iPhone cameras, or if they just do hey, we'll let you do it with this, you know, wide shot camera, whatever. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they do. Or the other thing is this: they just let them in. They just let them in and be like, hey, okay, you have 3 cameras. You run your show. But I know that that's never been CrossFit doesn't really like to share, or at least in the past hasn't liked to share in those sort of scenarios. So I don't really know. But I mean, you can definitely. I mean, geez, it'd be so. It wouldn't take away from the regular broadcast. It would add to it, or just or bring them in to officially be the in between. You know, let's talk.
I don't think Sevon wants to be official anything. I think he likes being the renegade.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
I think if they I highly doubt they would do is like, yeah, come on in and do your thing. But a world feed, they already have a world feed. They have world feeds for different countries broadcast. Like, there are different broadcasts in different languages for the CrossFit Games that they use the world feed, which is the raw video footage coming from the main broadcast. Why not give them that? All they're doing is having more people watch what's happening. There are people that are going to watch Sevon's show that are not going to watch the broadcast no matter what you put out there. Or if they do, they're just going to go on there and shit on everything. And at least on Sevon's, they're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he, whatever the angle is, he would have to be allowed to do what he does. Like, I don't see CrossFit bringing him in because I mean, dude, we've been with, you know, them a long time and doing this, and it's all about making sure that, I mean, you don't want anything negative about the brand ever. and you're not going to be able to say anything about that while on the air. Whereas Sevon, that was what he does. He wants to be able, not that he's trying to take pop. I mean, the nice thing about Sevon is, yeah, he'll talk shit on certain things, but he will also give props where props are due. I mean, he's always been that way. If something's good, he'll say it. But if something's not good, he'll say that too. And I think I can't see the organization saying, sure, we're, secure enough in our brandness that we can have you come on in and talk crap about the programming, or talk crap about this, or what athlete didn't do this, that, or the other thing, or whatever. So, but that doesn't take away from, I mean, they can still do what they've done. I mean, look what Stephon did at the games this last year. It was insane, the amount of footage that guy put together. Him and Matt and Hiller, and like, those guys were nonstop.
Yeah.
But
nonstop.
it's awesome. I love it.
Well, that was great.
So let's get to the why before we start. Did you freeze again? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's now I'm back.
Okay.
I'm going to go open up a door over here. But the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to go through events now. Okay. 4 events, 2 days, 12 competitors each, using Z-Score, which we'll touch on at the end. But it started with this little guy. Open. There we go. Now, I know you guys can't see it at home, but Bill, if you can run through what this was.
Oh, I got to pull that up. Oh, this
Here, you
is...
want to blow it up for you? It was two 3-minute AMRAPs with a minute rest in between. Cow bike, dumbbell step overs, max muscle ups, 2 times through with a 4-minute at the end. Scores max muscle ups.
Yeah. So you do that basically twice. And then that last one, so it's a 3-minute AMRAP, 3-minute AMRAP, 4-minute AMRAP. With the score being the total number of muscle ups that you hit. You had the bike to start, then you had the dumbbell, box step overs, and then those ring muscle ups. And it was really interesting, I think. Whenever you have an event like this, there's so much gamesmanship that goes into it, because you have to figure out how are you supposed to maximize those ring muscle ups. And when you have 3 like this, especially with the last one being the longest time frame, what that ends up doing is it allows you, oh, that's bigger. I can see that now. It allows you an opportunity to game, especially that second round. So you hit that first 3-minute AMRAP. You get through the cow bike, you do what you can on the box step overs, and then you take a massive chunk when you're most fresh on those ring muscle ups. Then the second you come back around, you do, whatever, you're tired now, but you had your 1-minute rest. You're not going to go super hard on the bike. You're just going to do your thing on the box step overs, and then you want to get a decent set on the ring muscle ups. But then you want to basically try to recover yourself for that last amount, because it'll be that last set, which I think would have been, if I was going into this, would have been the winning time. You have a lot more time then to get reps. And if you can recover yourself on that second round, you're going to be way better going into the third. But it's a trip though, because, and this is where the Z-Score thing kind of hops into it. And I know we'll talk about it later, but like, now it's not just about winning. It's about how much are you going to win by.
Right.
And so there's a lot of different strategies to take on that,
I almost think that limits people's ability to strategize anything. It's like, yeah, you just got to be better than everyone with your fitness, in a sense.
Yeah.
It kind of it takes gaming out of it a bit.
No, it does. It does.
When I looked at this, was usually you saw people get a huge set in the first round, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And I think it's like second round, okay, manage a bit. Don't lose too much that you can't get back at the end. But what I really liked about just these movements and how this was structured was, okay, the Echo bike is going to spike your heart rate and blow up your legs. And then the box step overs is going to keep your legs blown up, keep your heart rate basically kind of where it's at. I don't really see that taking more or elevating it, but the grip, it's taking away for the rings, right? Everything had its place in there. I thought it was a cool collection of movements for an AMRAP of max ring muscle ups, especially for the people taking the test too.
Yeah. I thought that look at the Cal difference. I thought that was a little skewed just a touch. 26 and 18. Like I thought that was off a little bit. Unless they really wanted to allow, because they knew that people weren't going to be going all out. So if they were just thinking that like, okay, well, what's a 75% roll between like men and women, so that they're coming off at around the same time. Like if you were having them go all out, like if this is just a 1-round set, then everyone's going to be just emptying the tank on this. They're going to go, as hard as they can. And those numbers I think would be way different.
Yeah.
And the women would be stepping off like way sooner off the bike.
Yeah.
But I like the set. But whenever it's all about managing the work for the ring muscle up still. So you have to be able to, I mean, the heart for me anyway, maybe I'm just talking, personal experience, but one of the things that has always been a weakness of mine is high level gymnastics out of fatigue. Like I'm good at high level gymnastics, but if I am exhausted and then you go into that, it's like, okay, I just blew my legs, was sucked all the oxygen out of my body. And now all of a sudden I have no grip. And I know that we just did the box step overs, but like I would be feeling that in my grip on the ring muscle ups. It's like I don't have any pop anymore. I'm afraid I'm gonna come off these rings. I have to come down.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of being able to support. I think that I think this one has Pat Barber written all over it. I mean, seriously, go all out on the first, just sandbag the second, and then all out on the last one.
Yeah. Well, Ethan Helbig tried that and did not work out very well for him.
Yeah. Well, did he try? Was it an official try, or was it?
I think he just sent the bike in the first 26, and he forgot like there was 9.5 minutes left of the workout.
Well, that's the problem when you have massive quads like that, dude. Like he's gigantic. So I mean, it's funny that his name is Hell Big because he's hella big for sure.
The one thing that when I was looking at this is, we've said this before, is like, okay, our thing, and we'll see this actually later, is like wall ball shots. But everybody at the same height. You have different weighted balls for a reason. 10 feet, men and women. But I think we had this conversation about weighted box step overs at the same thing. Is that the box step overs for the men were so much harder than they were for the women because of that 4-inch difference with weight. All right, when you add weight to the equation, I think standardizing a height is probably a better way to go. Right? You have different weights. You don't need different weights and different heights. You're making it much more difficult. You're making it twice as hard for the men. Does that make sense?
What are your thoughts? Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. And we've talked about that multiple times. Like, why are we switching? It's like the wall ball thing. The wall ball, you already have the wall ball down. Why do we bring the heights down also? Like, pick one or the other. You don't have to do that on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll stick with that as like, I think if you're doing weighted anything with a box, standardize the height. Why is Chad 1,000 box step ups for time with a 45 and 30 pound ruck with a 20-inch box? Because it's what he did, right? I get that, but it's standard across the board. Everybody does it. And I think when you do weighted step ups, those heights need to be the same, because when you add 15 more pounds to the dumbbells in each hand, going from 35s to 50, that is plenty. When you add another 4 inches, someone's going to take a soundbite from this. Is like 4 inches is the lot. Right? So if I says like, hey, okay, Bill, give me a moderately heavy front squat. Cool. Now go 4 inches lower. You're like, damn, dude, like that's what we're talking about. It's not the upper. Like 4 inches when you're talking about that, when they're stepping up onto the box, that is a depth thing. right? They have the step up from there. I say again, not for the ladies, for the guys that would like that to actually be true. That's what you're saying, Corey. So, and that's my only thing, right? When we look at this, is like, hey, what are the couple things I would have liked to seen here? This is a blanket statement across the board, like we talked about wall shots. Weighted anything step overs, that box height should be the same. And I think 20 is the perfect height for both men and women to use. You have different dumbbell sizes for a reason.
Yeah, I agree.
But overall, I mean, this is cool. This was really cool. And I love the break in between, because then you got to see where everybody was. You're like, damn, dude, I had to get 13 in this last round. I'm 3 behind already. And, so like that part was super cool. And I like the movement, the triplet combo here.
Yeah, the triplet is really fun. The rest time in between, it's really crazy. It's like, yeah, okay, I am recovering, but the amount of thinking that goes into that 1 minute of all of the things, like now you don't get to settle into the event anymore. You have to think about all the things. Okay, am I recovered enough? I'm not. Oh shit, I'm not rested enough. I don't feel good enough going to this.
Yeah.
Shoot, how am I supposed to get? I need to get this, but I can't get that because I'm not rested. All of these things happen in that 1 minute rest. When you're actually actively doing the stuff, you don't think of it that loud. You don't hear it that loud.
Mhm.
So it's I love interval events like this. I think that it really does throw a wrench into people's into their flow. I mean, it doesn't allow them to settle into any sort of routine.
Yeah.
So
speaking of derailing, I do want to bring this up. Corey just put this in there. Is that, Jimbo?
Yeah.
Did you see what he did?
The weighted burpee step ups?
Yes.
Yeah, with the vest?
What?
Or with the ruck?
Well, with the ruck.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, bro? I think I talked to me. It's like in the first 50 reps, I realized this was going to be a horrible idea. I was like, well, you had 950 to call.
I know.
You just doing burpees. That is the craziest shit.
Yeah.
I think that he's done some gnarly workouts so far. Things I just don't care to do, but that probably takes cake. Yeah, barbell spin. I know that the rule book just came out, right? Recently, within an hour or so. I'm excited to look at that. We'll probably do a show on that.
Totally.
All right. Let's see. What do you guys think about? We already talked.
Hey,
about
real fast. Everyone's thinking that I'm bagging, that I'm just like trashing on what those guys did. I'm not trashing on what they did. On Bryant, Will, and Lady 2742 and whatever. I'm not bagging on what they did, you guys. I'm not saying it was a bad deal. I'm saying it was different from what the normal setup is, and I was bummed for them that they were running all over each other, is what I was saying, which happened. And we'll mention this, the fact that one was live, Brian was there, so he can't see the other people when they're going to step in or
right.
whatever.
He has
so
to watch
so
the
you
field.
can't get that. He's watching the field. So it gets very difficult to do that. So what I was saying was the flow was rough at times when, I want to hear all the stuff that they were doing. So I wasn't by any means saying that what they did was a bad job or anything like that. So those of you guys that think that I was calling on it or trying to talk down on it, that was not the case. We're just talking about what it was. That's all. It's all good, you guys.
Now, okay, so this next event was the dirtiest one of the weekend.
I love this one.
579 power clean, bar facing burpee, thruster bar facing burpee. It was 165 and 115. Oh, I guess I need to scroll up. There it is. 165 and 115. And when I saw this event, I was like, dude, this is so mean. Like, this is this is just and being the second event of the day too. I mean, what did we just do before this? We hit the bike, we did heavy step overs, not a whole bunch of cals, but a lot of intensity.
Yeah.
And then we put ourselves to maximum failure on ring muscle ups, which requires a pull. And the biggest, hardest part about the muscle up is that press out.
That press.
Cool. All right. Here's a heavy bar that you're going to have to cycle, whether it's touch and go or the weird drop and go. Bar facing burpees for 42 total. Okay, there's pushing off the floor. And all of it is screaming like lockout. Like your lockout in your front rack position is just gone. And when they pick up the bar for those thrusters, you saw a lot of people's spirits and want to completely leave their bodies in that round.
Yeah, there were a lot of eyes.
7 than it was the round of 9, right? You get to the round 7, like, shit, I have a set of 9 after this, and that just broke people. I think in those 7 thrusters in that middle round was kind of where people decided where they actually wanted to go hard or not.
Yeah. Well, and anytime you have an ascending rep count like that, it's such a slap in the face.
Mhm.
I mean, you think you're going well, and then you get partway through the middle, of that second round, and then you're like, oh my, I haven't even done half of it yet. I'm not even halfway done.
All right.
Holy shit. Like this, it's like shoulders burning, triceps gassed, my push is gone, my legs are smoked. And I mean, you have no, I think it's great. Like the weight that they picked, especially for these athletes, was heavy enough that you can't not go fast.
Yes.
And that's what was awesome of the entire thing. It's the weight selection that they used.
They nailed
for that. I mean, awesome.
Yeah.
So good, because you have no choice, but you got to do them unbroken, and you got to do them fast.
Mm-hmm. And it forced them to, you couldn't fake the speed. So for example, if they picked 135 and 95, it would have been too light.
Yep.
There would have been no separation. It would have come down to no reps. The same thing we talked about, picking the right weight for the right movements.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with doing thrusters in competition, depending if you're doing it with elite athletes or not. At the same time, if you picked 185 and 135, this would just have been a singles fest. Some breaking up and just like, okay, who's stronger under fatigue, which was part of this. But you're right, dude. They nailed it.
Yeah.
And this fun stuff aside, I'd rather do the final event. As far as programming, this was my favorite one by far. The pull from the floor to the shoulder with the bar facing burpees in the middle, and then the front squat to press overhead. Like you hit so many different modalities and movement patterns at an intensity that no one really wanted to go at, but they had to. This was it was great.
These guys can't not do bar facing burpees fast. You can't. And so like there is, especially with the weight and the movements, there is no spot at all where you can either have an active recovery spot or a transitional rest, or like it's full throttle.
Yeah.
From 5 all the way down to 7, all the way down to 9, all the way down. And you don't have an option. The option is you're just going to get your ass kicked. And again, knowing that the way that the Z score is set up, if you decide on this one that you're going to just get beat out of the 12, well, okay, now if you really got beat, if you sandbag because you're like, I just don't want to go this hard on this one, then you get smashed on the points. So it's throttle down the whole way. And it is really deceivingly ugly. But I love that. But it's at the same time, it's like, oh man, this is that one that is going to hurt so bad, but you're like, but I really want to do it though.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's only 7 minutes. Like I can boil myself for 7 minutes. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. I may not be able to move for the next 21 minutes.
Right.
After that, but it's like I like it. I agree. I think this is the coolest programmed one of all.
It was. And
deceivingly smart programmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
The movement patterns, like we said, the intensity that was required, no one was a sure thing. That's the other thing I really liked about this too. And that speaks to a well-programmed event. Other than, say, the best of best. Like if Matt Fraser's here and Tia Toomey's here, we know who's winning this event. But what I'm talking about is across the board for everybody else, take the exceptions out. There's no one you could look at in this event that you were like, sure thing, they're going to win. Because this wasn't strongest person's going to win this.
No.
It's not that heavy, but it is heavy at the intensity and fatigue that is going to happen to you. At the same time, it's like, oh, the small work capacity person is going to do this. Like, no, because it is a little too heavy when we get fatigue. And it really was the best CrossFitter. I know I probably shouldn't. It was the fact that I can't nail it down, I think speaks to the volume, or it speaks volumes to how well this event was programmed.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. Like, it's 5-7-9 thrusters, power cleans, and bar facing burpees. Like, and I think that's the best part of programming. Programmers, you don't have to put bells and whistles on things to make a great event. This is a perfect example of simple is best.
Well, but it's written simple, but there's a lot of thought that goes behind it. Like, the weight is picked appropriately so that certain things can happen. The bar facing burpees. Okay, everyone can do that. Everyone can do it fast. So guess what? Everyone's going to be doing that fast. So now we know that everyone's heart rate is up. So what are the other movements we can do to just slap you across the face with? Thrusters. Okay, cool. Everyone can do thrusters, but if we go 30, even 135 for 135 and 95 would be too light for this number of reps.
Yeah.
For what they have going on. Like, it's not 185, 135, which is perfect, because it's like, now they can still do it fast.
Right.
I mean, so it's like there's a lot of knowledge of understanding, one, what do they want the outcome to look like? What do they want each of the rounds to look like as they're going through? Like, where are they really going to start getting into that pain cave? And when are they really going to have to show like the true fortitude and grit of like, okay, who really wants to win this? Who really wants to go?
Right.
And you're right. It's not a just strongman event, and it's not a body weight only event for all the short guys. It is a very well programmed, a very well understood programmed event. And it's just really cool. It looks really simple. I almost want to say that saying that it's simple isn't the correct.
Kind of undermines it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what makes it great.
As a Pat Sherwood.
It's very elegant, 100%.
Yeah.
But just like it's a very smart, a very intelligently programmed event.
And again, not just with the movements, but with the weights that they picked. It was the perfect weight. It was the perfect weight. Shout out. That was great. All right. Event 3 was the Ace of Spades. I like how they use all these Vegas things.
Yeah.
Now, this was a fun little double unders to start, 3 snatches on a certain 90-second mark. I'll pull this up here for you guys. The amazing thing watching this, because look, there's a lot written here.
Yeah.
But basically, every round was 90 seconds. Every round started with 30 double unders. And then you went 3 snatches, 3 snatches, 3 snatches, 2, 2, 1, 1 for 7 rounds. And then in the 8th round for 3 minutes, you can find a max snatch. Now, the weights went 185 all the way up to 265 for the men, 125 all the way to 170 for the women. Format aside, weights aside, what we're looking at is, okay, what have we done so far? We've been on the bike. We've done some step overs. We did some high volume ring muscle ups. Okay. So a little monostructural, some leg weightlifting, some pull and push on the rings. Cool. What did we just do? Okay. We said pull from the floor. We did a squat press with the barbell, high intensity the day before, and some burpees. Okay. What do we have here? We have some double unders and we have a pull from the floor with a snatch. Right now we are falling in line with some great building blocks as the weekend goes on. Now, this format, look, we've seen snatch ladders before. We've seen snatch ladders with double unders. We haven't seen them with the rep scheme. This was like a combo. This was really a combo of every regional snatch test we've ever had in competition.
Totally.
We had in 2012, we had the double under snatch ladder.
Yep.
In 2013, we had not even that. Let's say 2014 or 15, where it was like the handstand walk into 2 minutes for a max snatch, right? We have that kind of at the end. And then we've had the snatch ladder where it was like 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 with heavier weights, with these weights, actually with these exact weights with some sneaked in between. This is all of those combined. And the thing that blew me away is people were PRing their snatch. But not like 5, there was some 5-pounders in there, but like Kristen Kohlenbrander PR'd her snatch. Her snatch is 215. And she PR'd it, I think it was 220 or 225, something like that. It might have been 220. I can't remember. But she PR'd. It's not like her snatch was 185 and she PR'd by 5 pounds. Like she has an elite level. It's actually one of the heaviest snatches in live competition ever. I think Mia Ackerland
She had the biggest one. Yeah.
231 at Dubai that 1 year because it was in kilos. But then what? Tudor Magda PR'd a snatch with like 20 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
But we're talking like 300 something pounds. These are weights you shouldn't be PRing by any more than 5 pounds from. It was absolutely insane.
When we've done a set for a while actually, where it's like an 18-minute AMRAP and you do 50 double unders and you start with one snatch at like 65% of your 1 rep max and you do one. And then 50 double unders and you go up 5% every single time. Just up until the end. You get up as far as you go. You usually go about 9-ish rounds or so, somewhere in there. And we repeat of all the different ways. We'll do it with clean and jerk. We'll do it with snatch. And with all of the different sets that we've ever done, that particular setup, we've had more people get PRs in than classic going for the 1 rep. Like if you're looking at like true Olympic lifting style, going for your 5x1 kind of thing. And I think what it is that you're not thinking so much about the lift because you have the double under part to start. So you aren't. I mean, there's so many things to think about. Where am I pulling from? Where are my knuckles pointed down? Are my knees pointed out enough? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Right here, it's like you're under a time constraint. Oh man, we're getting all the hot girl.
I know. Finally, God, we haven't had these for a long time.
It's been a while.
We're having a good show.
But now you're under a time constraint. You have double unders that you have to get done, and then you have to get. So all you're thinking is completion rather than all of the things into that, and you just see really cool things happen, which is really fun to see. I love when you can have elite level athletes getting PRs anyway, especially in competition. That's always cool.
And a product of that is, well, okay, what can it be? Because it's not like they were fresh from yesterday,
right?
This might be a time where a lot of them, a lot of athletes after games usually go on big strength cycles.
Yeah.
Just trying to bulk up, load up, get that strength up before they have to start really working the work capacity. It's like, okay, if I can operate at 95, 90% of my max effort that I did going into it, you're going to be fine in usually any event that comes up, especially the CrossFit Games.
Right.
That could be one. The other could be is that format gets them so out of their head and into a position of fatigue that the only way that bar is going up is they have to do it the right way.
Yeah. You hit that level of efficiency under fatigue. Yeah. Like you're not too tired
anymore. Right.
But your body naturally will move because you can't muscle this stuff anymore at that point.
Right. And when you're fresh, people will try to do it. They still can't muscle it, but they'll keep trying.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they can. When you do this format every 90 seconds, double unders every time, 3 sets of 3 before we even get to the 2s, and then 2 sets of that, and then singles again, and then we have 3 minutes, is that they're so fatigued to an extent, is that there's no other way to lift this bar than actually do it the right way.
Yeah.
Me pulling early or trying to muscle this over my head isn't going to work. My shoulders are smoked. Well, then you better use your legs and hips like you should have done to begin with. I thought it was great.
It's just cool. You have almost 30 seconds of rest on every single round. So you're not spiking your heart rate. In the 30 double unders, it doesn't spike you.
No.
It's just something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're fatigued muscularly just enough to not be sloppy to try to muscle the weight up, especially when you get up into those higher rounds. You're not tired enough where you can't still move efficiently. I think you kind of have, and we've seen that where, especially with people that really don't know how to lift. That's why, we talked about when we were doing the book club, like PVC pipes work, but sometimes you have to give them a little bit of weight because their body has to feel it.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing. You have that window of it's too light, so I'm gonna muscle, even though I don't feel like I'm muscling it, or now I'm too tired and now I just can't move correctly. But that window where your body will naturally move as efficient as it can without you thinking about moving efficient, And that's right where these people start to get those big weights. That's cool.
It was awesome. The fact that we got those weights up in that setting, I thought was really cool. And aside from like the show, what we've done so far from event 1, 2, and 3 are fitting in nicely with each other as it progresses. Here's the hard part is that if you're going to do 4 events, they have to be on point as far as balance is concerned. And that is really, really hard to do. It's easy to make a full test with 15 events. It's easy. Oh, yeah, we had a max strength in there. Cool. We got 12 to offset it. Okay, we'll go long here and we'll do some gymnastics here. Good to go. Let's play around. Okay, that one is a little bit biased, but we'll fix it over here. Here's like, you can't do that. You cannot have a mistake in a 4-event format. It's a lot of pressure.
And I like their tiebreak on that too, where you break it down, you do the overhead squats.
Oh yeah, what was the tiebreaker again?
I think it was the original starting weight. So
you
took a minute, you took 90 seconds off.
Okay.
And then you had 90 seconds to do that opening weight, the 185, 125, as many overhead squats as you can in that 90 seconds.
Yeah. That was cool. That's a great tiebreaker.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Because it's also a detriment. Sorry, you didn't make it. Now we're going to blow you up because the day's not over. The day's not over. All right, so what we've had so far, we had a interval-based event totaled of 10 minutes of work, 3 AMRAP, 3-minute AMRAP, 4-minute AMRAP. Then the next event was 4 to 5 minutes was our best times of just pure burn it down. Not full send, but pretty damn close.
You lost your soul on it for sure.
Yeah, you were not right after that, which is why they only did 2 that day. Could you imagine if they had to do this event right after that? We wouldn't have seen what we saw.
No way.
And then you come to this snatch ladder, strength test, but lots of opportunities to screw up or lots of opportunities to get better. And we saw PRs. I mean, PR isn't a part of the programming. It was just exciting to watch. And now we come to, okay, what haven't we had? Well, we haven't really had anything longer, high volume. And here we are. We have a chipper, 150-foot handstand walk in 25 foot unbroken sections. 50-40 cal row, 35 wall ball shots, 20 and 14 to a 10-foot target. God bless you guys. 50 chest bar pull-ups. And then at the peak of the mountain, you have 10 devil press at 70s and 50s. Then you work your way back. Instead of chest to bar, you go toes to bar. I actually really like that. 35 wall ball shots, 50-40 cal row, and another 150-foot handstand walk. And I didn't bring this up while I was talking about it. Sorry, everybody. I love this chipper.
It's awesome.
I love it. You've got handstand walks, inverted gymnastics. You get to the rower. Okay, Mr. Handstand, Miss Handstand Walker, enjoy your row, which you're probably not going to stereotypically, right? The person that's going to do well here, not so much there. We've got some balance. Then you go to the wall ball shot. You're like, hey, another one for the tall athletes as we get into it. Now we go from that inverted handstand to a, basically a leg pull movement with the rower to a leg push press with the med ball. And then we go to chest to bar pull-ups, which is pulling. Like that, just bam, 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 bam. I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
Before we get to the devil presses, I just wish they would have made the wall ball shots 50.
50-50 across. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the time frame, not just the fact, I want more wall ball shots. It's one, okay, I'll throw my OCD out there. When I go to 150 and I have 50, 50, 50, that looks really nice. But here's the thing I'm talking about. A 50 cal row and 50 chest to bar pull-ups take way longer than 35 wall ball shots. 35 wall ball shots unbroken takes about 1 minute and 10 seconds. The 50 cal row takes twice that. Those chest to bar pull-ups on the back end take twice that. So you have 2 movements that take twice as long as the middle one. If you just threw in 15 more, you've got your 50s. It would have evened out the workload. That's just me being me. Before we get to I hear what you're saying, and I agree with that. The one thing I am thinking is that if they were going, okay, row, tall person event, wall balls, tall person event, chest to bar pull-ups, toes to bar, shorter athlete's going to have a better, it kind of has the advantage there. So they're flip-flopping
that. So you have two events. Actually, well, you have 4 segments where
Yeah, 4
it
and 4.
will. That's what I mean. So they're going to even it up with that, though.
Yeah.
So they're trying, and I think if they would have had the 50 in the 50,
I don't think so, dude.
I mean, I would have written it that way almost without even thinking about it, honestly, because of the 50. Like the 35 would have thrown my brain also. I
Yeah.
would have done that.
But OCD numbers aside, it makes the numbers work. It makes the time and effort in the movement more balanced. 35 wall ball shots takes 1 minute and 10 seconds. 50 cal row does not. Neither do 50 chest to bar pull-ups. If you did 50 chest to bar pull-ups unbroken, yeah, maybe. But that's not going to happen, right?
Right. Same thing with toes to bar.
Yeah,
Especially at that point, anyway.
I love this chipper. I really do. I love everything about it.
I don't think you're right. I don't think we would have lost anything by adding, what is that, 15, 30?
Yeah, 30.
30 wall balls total. And so it's another minute. You add a minute.
And the one thing I did hear them talk about this on the broadcast was originally the idea was they were going to make it unbroken, the wall ball shots.
Oh, okay.
That's why they picked the 35. But then they decided not to do that. I was like, okay, if that was the case, I'm cool with that. A wrinkle, but they didn't do it because of the online portion, because you can't regulate reps online as much as you should. We'll say that versus live. And so they took it out. I was like, cool, take it out, bump up the 15 and let people do some work.
Yeah. I think they could have, whether that was the case or not, that would have been an easy switch.
Right.
That would have been an easy switch. Like if it was like, okay, well, we're not doing unbroken, then there's no reason to have that lower. Right. No, yeah. I agree with that.
Have it lower. All right. And then we get to the middle. So the middle, 10 devil presses at 70 and 50. If you've never done a devil press with 70-pound dumbbells as a guy or 50 pounds as a girl, that shit is so hard. Did you see Annie Sakamoto try this on her Instagram?
Yeah.
I messaged her. I was like, are those 100-pound dumbbells? She's like, no, I'm just small. I was like, I know you're but those look gigantic.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, they're 50s. And I think she tried 2 or 3 times to get it in an actual devil's press.
Well, I love that they gave them the caveat. I think well, I mean, here's why I like it. I don't like it for the ease of the event. Mm-hmm. What I think now is it takes the stress out of the judge. Okay. Out of the judging of it. Like, did it really stop or did it not really stop? Okay, it's like, okay, everyone's going to know that if you have to get them all the way up, it's going to be a lot faster if you snatch them up. But if you don't have the strength to do that, or you're not if you have to re-dip underneath it a little bit as you go to catch it, maybe that's the thing. And now they don't have to worry about any weird, like they're saying it. They're just going like, look, if you fuck up on the movement, get the dumbbells from the ground to overhead. Right. That's all we want. That's what we want. Not like we need to make sure that your hips are totally not moving and that you don't re-bend your knees and it's a, I think that's why that was put in there.
I'm 100% with you, and I totally agree that that's probably the better way to go. Don't call it a devil's press.
What would you call it?
Just say ground overhead.
Burpee
or a man maker.
Dumbbells to over.
Just say double dumbbell ground overhead. Because like maybe performed as a clean and jerk, that's not a devil's press. Like, hey, Bill, we've got 10 snatches in the middle of this event, but you can also clean and jerk them. I know that's being nitpicky as shit, but I get it. And here's what I like. I like that they did that because it allowed everybody an opportunity to stay in it in the middle, regardless of size or strength. Because if it were, say, a pure devil's press and say you had a burpee, double swing through, you had to pull up the body and you had to keep your knees locked in a lockout, that really heavily favors someone who's bigger and stronger, period.
Totally.
And the Annie example. Now, if you let her clean and jerk them, she's going to get them all. No problem. if you're the bigger, stronger athlete, you still have an advantage here. And here's why I don't want there to be too much of an advantage in the middle, because of what we've had so far, regardless of the balance of wall balls. You have a handstand walk, you have pull-ups and toes to bar, you have a row, and you have wall ball shots. That balances out the athlete, the gymnastic athlete versus the big, strong athlete. There's balance there. In the middle, if you made them devil presses pure, that would have heavily favored into the bigger, stronger athlete category. But when you give them the option to do this clean and jerk format, that negates part of that for them. So there's a little bit more everybody can play in the middle. And by the time you get here and what you have on the tail end, like, you have to really manage your work here intelligently. As a OCD programming snob, just don't call it a devil's press, because it's not anymore. That's it.
I hear what you're saying. I think for
that's also for
understanding of what the movement is.
Mm-hmm.
Hand on each dumbbell, you do a burpee, you come up and the burpee and the dumbbells go from ground to overhead in one movement or whatever. If you just want to say ground overhead. Everyone understands that as a devil press. I still don't. I honestly, I think, and someone actually put this up. Maybe it was Travis. The devil's press, like, you're not pressing. It shouldn't be a press. It's a snatch. It's not a press. It's a snatch. So we've been naming it wrong this whole time anyway. Honestly,
maybe. Yeah.
But
it's a good point.
It totally is. I just think that it was, again, for ease of, and yes, you could go back the other way and say, okay, you understand the for ease part, but then to rename it this very odd, weird, okay, then we need to have the double dumbbell burpee ground to overhead. I just think that I think it gets convoluted. I think devil press, everybody knows. It's like, hey, look, but we're not going to, like, if you need to clean and jerk, if you need to bend your knee, whatever, get them to overhead. And that's something that you would say in the briefing rather than on whatever. But I think it was more for ease of judging.
Yes. And I like that the movement is in here. I like that people got options. I'm literally saying I'm just being a snob. I get it.
I don't see you being a snob. I see you just being nitpicky of the name.
It's nitpicky. It's not as nitpicky as the wall balls. That needed to happen. That was a miss.
I don't disagree with that one.
That being said, this was the best event you could add to the 3 that we've had, with the time frame, the volume, the reps, the balance, and the movement patterns. I love that they put toes to bar on the second 50 after the halfway point, then doing chest to bars again. I loved that. I really did. And then the handstand walk after all that at the end.
Yeah.
You just had to be dialed in, or tutor Magda. Pick one. Have you seen anything like that before?
No.
How good he is.
So good. Hands? Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, I used to think that, like, Noah and those guys were good, but, like, he's like another level.
Like Danielle Brandon and Katrin Davidsdottir are like, Danielle Brandon is probably the closest counterpart as far as speed walking is concerned, because she is so fast and she's so good inverted. But that dude is on another level from that. Wild.
Yeah, I like the fact that we had all these things at the end. It's the final event. And, we have said how many times, where you're putting rowing in, when you can decide to put that in there. If you're going to have something at the end, make it count. And now it really does count. Like, you have to push the row hard to get through it, to get to the handstand. And then now you're at max fatigue, last movement of the day, last event of the day.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to push with accuracy on your hands.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, with unbroken sets. And I think that it is, again, it's really cool. 4 events, and man, they got a lot of stuff in that 4 events.
A lot.
Yeah. It's really cool. They did a great job.
I really do. Yeah, they did. They really did. And the amount, I mean, what are the things that the box height, whatever. 35 versus 50. And that's it. Don't call it this. It's a man maker. It's not a devil's press.
You don't call those man makers.
All right. We can't say that anymore. person that people making this. But you get what I'm saying? Like I'm being.
What if we
Here's the
call it
thing.
a devil maker? A devil maker.
Whatever. Right. I made a devil thruster. You're welcome, world. Here's the thing when I say things like box height or rep schemes or names is that I want to make sure that I'm also consistent in every critique I've ever made for the last 2.5 years when we talk programming. These are all things that I am consistent with. And so I don't want to be like, yeah, this is all fine, no problems. And then like one event 2 years ago, like, what the fuck, dude? You grilled me for
Yeah.
calling it something that it shouldn't have been called. I mean, oh, shoot, we had that. What did we have? Oh, King Kong 2.0. Like this is even King Kong we're talking about, right? But like that's part of it, right? And so I'm just trying to be consistent too and fair for everyone across the board. So yeah, what do I think box step over should be the same height between men and women? Yes, because of the added weight to what you're doing the movement is. Do I think time frames between movements, if you're creating a chipper specifically too, should be relatively close, that there's not one thing weighted more than the other? That's usually what I'm looking at, right? I don't want it to be it's not a chipper if only the row matters because there's so much, or a certain movement matters because of so much, because a chipper really should all be is like, you can have all these cute numbers, but the hardest part is, can you balance the skill, the difficulty, and the weights and the
like the 30 double unders at the 2000, was it 2008?
Yeah, 2009 CrossFit Games when you had like 30 thrusters at 135, or the dumbbell thrust or whatever. It was power cleans and weighted dumbbells and muscle ups, 30, 30, 30, 15, 15, and it all was really hard. And they had 30 double unders in there. Right? That doesn't work. And that's what we're talking about.
What we're talking
about. That's a whole nother lesson. Maybe we do an episode on like how to program a chipper. But one thing shouldn't overtake all of it. Why were the 10 reps perfect at that weight in the middle of that chipper? Because it still took 2.5 minutes to do. Just like the handstand, well, not the handstand walk, but like just like the row, just like the gymnastics, not so much the wall ball shot. Like that's what we're saying. Like, balance among that. So that's nitpicky. However, all that being said, man, if I'm giving this an Element 26 review for the program itself, 1.9. Like for the limited number of events, for one, how difficult that is to do, to make it balance across all fours, to sneak in a strength test that worked out okay. Now the number of field really helped. Right? When you have 12, you can do that.
Right.
2000, a little bit harder. But my nitpickiness and verbiage and whatever, this was great. They did a great job.
I like the score you gave. I was gonna say 1 3/4.
I was thinking 1.8, I was like,
that's okay. I think that with 4 events, there wasn't any that were like a big. There weren't any, like the negatives were nitpicky negatives. I still think that like the first event, it's a gameable event. I mean, I think I would have almost rather had it set up with, take the minute out and say, okay, you have to do an unbroken set of ring muscle ups, and that ends up being what your score is, something like that. So you can't game it at like the Pat Barber style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I loved all the things that they gave. I love all of the for 4 events and having all of those different elements that they put into it in real creative ways. And you're right, that last one, I mean, it needed to be long. It needed to be extended because they didn't have that with the other ones. Even though, with the rounds with the Snatch event, like it was longer because it was 90 seconds and it was 8 rounds or 10 rounds, or whatever it was. But it wasn't like where you're working the entire time. So they needed to have something like that. And I like the chipper that they had. Yes, they could have made those 50 on the wall balls. I mean, going back, I thought it was a weird number. I didn't really look too much at the time frame of it, but you're right. It would have added, it would have balanced it out more to make that be across you know, and especially when we're talking about what you do with the chipper, that all of those elements should be at least level. I like the fact that they had the row, that it was a pyramid, an up and a down, of the elements, and having the row and the handstand walk really matter.
Mhm.
You had to go. You couldn't game the row. You're at the end. Like, all you have left after that is
Right.
handstand walking. So you go from maximum fatigue into an extremely technical event for distance. Well, a good distance, 150 feet is like no joke.
That's really far.
You know what I mean? So like, you're doing that at maximum fatigue. Like, that
It's 50 yards for those of you guys counting at home.
Yeah, the way that they pushed everyone in those 4 events, I thought was really impressive. A couple little tweaks, whatever. I think they did an unbelievable job. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly really, when I saw the 579, like when I saw that it came out, I'm like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And dude, it sucked me right in. And I know that was a bad one, but I got sucked right in. I'm like, I like the weights. I liked everything. I thought they did a great job.
I was like that with the chipper. I was like, I respect that, but fuck that workout. I'm gonna do this nice long one that has not a barbell in sight, please. Yeah, and in part, I was gonna go 1.8. You know, you're saying 1 3/4. The only reason why I ticked it up to 1.9 is because there was only 4 events, and that's really, really hard to do. So they almost got an extra 0.1 just because of the limited framework they had to work with. I'm giving them a 0.1 respect for that. It's much easier to program a more well-balanced test with more events. And so I think what they did with what they had was very impressive.
It was very, to me, very similar.
I got a question.
2007 games. I mean, here we are, we're talking 3 events, and we're like, oh, wow, they just hit everything.
Okay.
And it's like, but I mean, so now it's like, okay, so if these guys nailed it in 4 events, do we need to have 15 events in? Like, do we need to have events where you have that much stuff? Is the mystery event not only the start of finish of event number 1, but is it like, okay, how did they last through the course of 4 days of competition? You know, that did they have that longevity and that ability? I don't know. I liked it. I just I still think that's a fucking great score, though. Either of them.
Yeah.
So,
question for you. If this were the last chance qualifier events.
Fuck yes.
Okay. For both years?
For both what?
For both years that we've gone through.
Well,
we know for sure year 1. That one was garbage.
That one was stupid. Yes. I think that I mean, you're getting people that have gymnastic skills, you're getting people that have volume skills, you're getting people that have endurance skills, you're getting people that have strength skills. Yeah, we would be getting correct people to where they need to go, for sure.
What about 2008 CrossFit Games?
Would this
better if this was 2008 and this was the test, would you be like, yep, better test? I think this is the easy question. I'm going to give you the harder one afterwards.
Okay.
This is unequivocally
my general answer is going to be, of course, yes, but there's a caveat to that we have 15 years of programming and testing to see how it really works when we're putting things together. I mean, here we are back at that year, we're doing rowing and trying to drive a stake into the ground. You know what I mean? Like,
and every event was 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes.
Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't. Was
that wait. Yeah. That was 2009.
That was 2009. Sorry, my bad.
2008.
Yes, this was better than that.
This is the layup one. Okay, thank God.
Yeah, 100%.
Bill, this was 2008 was the worst program CrossFit Games of all time. Now here's the other one. Is this better than the 2007 CrossFit Games? 3 events.
For today, yes. For then, no.
Okay.
I think that the level of athletes at the time, if we were to put these events on those athletes, they would be standing there looking like idiots.
Oh, could you imagine in 2007?
If we put
They put out
2007
70-pound dumbbells in there.
exactly. If we would put the 2007 on these guys, it would be a fucking joke.
Right.
So, yes, I think it's a better programmed event, but it's better programmed for athletes now, not athletes then.
I like that. I think the 2007 CrossFit Games was the perfect CrossFit Games for the demographic that we had in 2007.
Yeah, and for the landscape of what CrossFit was.
Right, and what we were defining fitness to be.
Exactly.
We've gone through this. It was perfect.
Yeah, for what it was then, it was perfect.
Did we give it 2 thumbs up that year? What did we give them?
You were the one that was floored. You were like, "Holy shit! I thought it was the worst
one ever."
I
came
wow,
in,
I
I
think it's like actually one of the best.
Test, yeah.
You're like, "Oh fuck, they nailed everything."
Janelle asked me like, "What gets a 2 thumber?" I think 2018 I gave it.
18, I think we gave.
Yeah. I was like, got to be borderline perfect. And some of that perfection is totally in my own bias, in my own eyes, in my own opinion.
Yes. 100%.
That's it. This is all opinion-based bullshit anyways, guys. I don't know why the fuck you listen to what we say. I guess I shouldn't say that on the podcast.
Except for when we talk about how to program.
Yeah, right.
That's very objective, not subjective.
Yeah. It is. But no, great test, great job. Again, Savon Podcast, everything that they did and the format at which they was, and this like having a beer at the bar on the couch with your buddies and talking about CrossFit with the world in a fashion that I think in a format I think like a lot of people are drawn to.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Really good stuff. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the show today. We had a blast going through that. Billy, we going to
got book club this week, right?
The book club. Okay. We talked about this last time. We're going to the Glassman Chipper CrossFit Journal Book Club. And if you guys didn't listen to the last one, the next one on the docket is called An Interview with Coach Greg Glassman. And what we're basically just going to go through is just read through this interview he did 20 years ago. We put it in the chat if you guys watch it on YouTube. Thursday, we're going to go live, and we're going to get a peek into the brain of Greg Glassman in the peak. Let's see, the article was written in January of 2003. And this his outlook on the fitness landscape, how he's started to define this thing, right? Like it's going to be great. I'm so excited about this one.
It'll be fun.
I'm so excited about this one. So I hope you guys join us then. We'll let you guys know what time that'll be. What time do you? Afternoon?
Yeah.
Afternoon. So around the same time as we had today?
Yeah.
We'll let you guys know. Other than that, thank you guys for joining the show. See you for a fun one on Thursday.
Bye, guys.